Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome into Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. The NFL draft just over a month away, and on today's show, I'm going to break down my personal top 10 quarterbacks in this draft. Obviously, everybody has their own list. We're going to go through mine. I'll kind of go through some pros and cons of each prospect and kind of gauge where I think these guys are worthy of being selected. But listen, I got a challenge for all of you. Can we reach 9,000 subscribers by April Fool's Day? We're just over a week away from April 1st. We're at 8,639 subscribers. If you want daily NFL content, including the latest NFL news, rumors, free agency coverage, the draft, obviously, we're dropping at least one mock draft every single week. If you want more content like that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Okay, let's start with my top quarterback in this draft. That is Cam Ward out of Miami, who not just for me, but I think for most people has separated as the top quarterback in this year's draft. And I just think he offers the best combination of athleticism, not a great athlete, but a good athlete, good enough size, but tremendous arm talent. He has a rocket arm. He can also throw with really nice touch, different arm angles. He's competitive as hell. That's one of the things he's really known as well. I think in a better draft, like let's just take a look at last year's draft, for example, right? Top three picks, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. I would have Ward below those guys. I think he would have slotted somewhere with the Penix, McCarthy, Bo Nix grouping. I would have had him for sure ahead of Nix. Obviously, Nix played better than expected, but that's where I would have had him slotted in. And then I probably would have had him ahead of Penix as well, just due to some of Penix's injury concerns. McCarthy was a tricky one for me. Younger guy, but wasn't asked to do a lot at Michigan. So, I think in a typical draft, like he would go like between 10 and 15. But in this draft where there aren't, high level QB prospects at the top, I think Ward's a good one. I think he's worthy of going number one overall, although in a typical draft, probably 10 to 15 is where I think he probably would go. Okay, let's go to number two, Shedeur Sanders, who is a polarizing prospect for a lot of reasons. He's Deion's son, obviously, Colorado. A lot of people have a lot of opinions on what they did, but one thing you can't take away from Shedeur Sanders is he, his dad, and whoever else you want to kind of pair with them, obviously Travis Hunter, they rebuilt two programs. Jackson State became one of the best HBCUs in the country. Colorado was arguably the worst Power 5 program in college football before they got there, and by year two, they're winning 9 games. So Shedeur Sanders, I think, is a strong leader. He has great accuracy. That's probably his best trait. He's tough as hell, took a bunch of sacks, bunch of big hits, basically didn't miss any time the last couple of years. He's very fundamentally sound, too. Like, when you look at him throw the ball, it's like, yeah, he's got a good release, throws a good ball. His base is pretty solid, footwork's pretty good. I think the fundamentals are there. The problem with Shedeur is he's got average physical talent. Average size, average athlete, average arm. Now, is it good enough? Yeah, I think it is. But I think, again, in a stronger QB draft, he's probably like, even in today's NFL where there's a strong, there's a tax, right? A QB tax. And it probably started about 10 or 12 years ago when the Christian Ponders, the EJ Manuels of the world went in the first round, whereas 20 years ago they would have gone, day 2 for sure. I think Sanders in a normal draft would go like middle of the first round, later in the first round. Like Jordan Love went in the mid-20s, for example, and he had much more physical talent. I think Shedeur Sanders in a typical draft would go in like the 15s, 20s. But in this draft, I would take him at 3 if I was the Giants. I would consider taking him if I was the Browns because I think he's good enough to be a plus NFL starter. I'm not sure he's got the tools to ever be a top 5 NFL quarterback. He's going to have to win with his mind and with his accuracy and his decision making, which he was able to do that at the college level. We'll see if he's able to do it consistently enough in the NFL. Jaxson Dart is my third guy. I debated between a few here, but I'll go with Dart, and I do think he's emerged for most people as the third best quarterback in this draft. Good athlete. He's probably a better athlete than Shedeur and probably Cam Ward as well. Lane Kiffin ran him a lot at Ole Miss. He has a strong arm, not elite, but strong. He can spin the rock. I'd say his arm's a little stronger than Shedeur's. My biggest problem with Dart when I watch him is especially against the better defenses in the SEC over the past couple of years. The Bamas, although last year not so much, Georgias, etc. He struggles to get through his progressions. And I just hesitate with him because he was coached by Lane Kiffin, who schemes open guys a lot. He played with NFL wide receivers. Just go watch him closely. Even just go watch a highlight reel package. Snap to throw, he's usually looking at the guy he looked at first. That's usually where he's going with the football. Doesn't mean he never gets off his read. There's a few plays where he's looking left to kind of let the backside post develop and he gets back to it and hits it. But is he kind of just pre-planning to do that? I'm not sure. So I think that's an area of growth needed. I think you got to get him with a QB-friendly coach. Like, would Sean McVay and the Rams take him at 26 in the first round? Like, to me, he's a second round guy in this draft because he's got physical tools. But I could see a team taking him in the first round if they want to get that fifth-year option. There's a lot of buzz to him going in round one. I do think there's a gap between him and Shedeur. Some people think that gap is non-existent. I think Shedeur's a better pro prospect at this point in time. Today's show is sponsored by Turtle Beach, the #1 brand in gaming headsets and accessories. I'm rocking my Turtle Beach headset today, and it picks up audio so clearly that you're basically cheating when you game. Get 10% off with code CHAT at turtlebeach.com/chat. I personally recommend you get their all-new Stealth 700 headset as the sound quality and comfort are incredible. The 3D spatial audio has taken my gaming to the next level, especially in high-paced games like Fortnite or Call of Duty. The Stealth 700 headset also has the industry's first ever cross-play dual wireless transmitter system. That means you can seamlessly switch between your consoles and PC with just the click of a button. It gets even better, folks. While being connected to your console, the Stealth 700 can connect with your phone for music streaming or taking calls at the same time. Listen to your favorite songs while gaming, all done with the Stealth 700. Head to turtlebeach.com/chat. Use code chat to get 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off with code chat at turtlebeach.com/chat. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. So tell us we sent you here at Chat Sports. It'll help support our show. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. Okay, Jalen Milroe is next up here as the Alabama quarterback. Obviously is an interesting prospect, right? Because he's a tremendous athlete. He's fast as hell. He ran a 4.37 at the pro day at Alabama. He does throw a good deep ball. Like, I think he's pretty raw as a passer overall, especially from within the pocket. But one thing he does do well is throw the deep ball with touch and with pretty good accuracy. So he is a good deep ball thrower. I like that. Now, I think sometimes we overvalue deep ball from prospects because how many true deep balls are you going to throw a game in the NFL, especially in today's NFL where a lot of these offenses are get the ball out, let playmakers go to work. At most, you might throw 5 a game. You might have games where you throw 2. So you've got to be able to run the quick game, throw the ball over the middle, get to your second, third progressions, which all that stuff he was very inconsistent at. So he is raw, but man, 6'2", 220, 4.37 in the 40. I would take him in the second or third round, especially in this draft. Normally I would view him as like a 4th round project, but I think in this draft, a weaker QB pool, I'd almost rather take him in the second or third than Dart in the first, if that's kind of how it plays out. Now, could some team take Milroe in the first? Certainly possible, but at the end of the day, he's the ultimate wild card in this draft because it only takes one team, right? Anthony Richardson went number 4 overall. Jalen Milroe is a better college player. Now, Richardson bigger, stronger, bigger arm, all that stuff. I get why he went where he did. But if he can go number 4, you're telling me some team won't take Jalen Milroe in the second round? I think they will. And I think it's worth the swing at that point in the draft because if he could just be the 20th best passing quarterback in the NFL with his running ability, if you build the offense right around him, he's got a chance to be a starter for a very, very long time. But he also has a chance to, by year 3, we're talking about, do you just move him to running back? Because I'll be honest, I think he'd be a hell of a running back with the way he's built. Okay, Kyle McCord is my 5th guy. 4 through 6, 7, you could debate here. I thought he had a great year at Syracuse. Led the country in passing yards, got the ball to playmakers, can throw at all 3 levels, underneath, intermediate, and downfield. My biggest issue with McCord is he kind of gets a little reckless with his decision making, despite having an average to above average arm. Like, can't remember which game it was. Was it Boston College? He threw 5 picks. It's just like, dude, like, what are you doing? And a lot of them were just mind-blowingly bad decisions. So, it kind of reminds me, he's not as athletic as Will Grier was, but Will Grier, when he was coming out, I see a little bit of him with McCord in the sense of he plays sometimes like he has Patrick Mahomes' arm or Josh Allen's arm, and he doesn't. And what I mean by that is you have to know your own limitations. You can't just, I'll just rip this ball 50 yards downfield between the safety and the corner because Josh Allen can do it. Like, that's not really who you are. So when McCord is making good decisions, I think he's a good prospect. I'd take him in the 3rd round. He's got good size. He's got a good enough arm. Not a great athlete, but so in today's NFL, it's a little tough. But get the ball out, can get it to his playmakers. So I think he's a higher floor, lower ceiling prospect than a guy like a Jalen Milroe, who's the opposite. But to me, he kind of projects long-term backup, fringe starter type. Like, could he be an Andy Dalton in the NFL who started 150 games or so? And later into his career, kind of evolved into a steady backup. I could see that. That's probably the ceiling for McCord, a Ryan Tannehill type, less athletic than Tannehill and Dalton, but that type of player. Like, if that's where he gets to, you find that on day 2. That's pretty damn good. All right, Tyler Shough, who's an intriguing player. Some people have him as their 3rd, 4th best QB. I got him at 6. Look, 7-year college player. Didn't have a real solid complete season until year 7, so that worries me because he has a lot of injuries. He's going to be 26 in September. His tape this year was tremendous. If you just went off this year's tape and play, he'd probably be 3 for me behind Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Big kid, good arm talent, can really spin it, can layer the football, good enough athlete. I think he ran in the 4.6s and the 40, so he can move around. But a lot of injuries before this year, was very inconsistent. So was this year an outlier? I on the positive side of things, you'd say no, because, he was a guy who before Louisville played with better talent. He was at Oregon for a few years behind Justin Herbert, then briefly had a chance to start. Better talent than Louisville. Texas Tech, better playmakers than Louisville. So he's kind of a tough guy to evaluate, but there's a lot of people that like him. I know Dane Brugler likes him like it at as early as 2nd round. I'd go more like 3rd or 4th because of his age, but he's talented, and we saw him kind of put it all together this year. I just don't know if this year is a 1-year outlier or if he can now become a potential starter in the NFL. It's not ideal when he's already going to be 26 as a rookie. You basically lose an entire contract with him. By the time his rookie contract's up, he'll be 30 years old. Okay, Quinn Ewers is 7 for me. Coming into this season, he was in play to be the top QB, right? With Cam Ward, with Shedeur. I think Quinn was mentioned a lot with those guys, but he got hurt again. We found out at the combine that he played most of the year with an oblique strain. I thought, I don't know if regressed is the right word, but he definitely didn't take the necessary steps forward to really kind of loft himself. Like Cam Ward, for example, he launched himself up this year. Had the best year of his career by far. That's why he's in play and likely will be the number 1 overall pick. Quinn kind of stayed the same and in some cases regressed. He's been injured all 3 years in college now at Texas. His mechanics have been lazy from start to finish. He throws off his back foot a lot. Even though he's got good arm talent and throws with nice touch, there's sometimes where I'm watching and I'm like, hey, put more zip on that. Throw the fastball. Like he kind of just does the off his back foot 3/4 like flick where it's like, dude, if you put more zip on that and hit him in stride, he could take that to the house. So he's a frustrating player to watch because he's got the tools, but the injuries are a concern. The lack of improvement from year 2 to year 3 as a starter is a concern. So I don't know what to make of him. To me, I'd take him in like the 4th round. And if you get him with the right coach, can he sit for like 2 years? I still think there's a chance where he could be a starter in the future, but to me, he's got a long way to go. Will Howard to me is kind of the opposite of Quinn Ewers, higher floor, lower ceiling. Even though he's a bigger guy and a pretty good athlete, really average arm when you watch. Like at 6'4", 235, he should be able to throw the ball with more velocity, with more um, you know, ability to launch it downfield. Just it's not there. Like his deep ball kind of dies. Like he's accurate with it, but I don't know. I watch him always wanting more, and I really watch him like, yeah, Jeremiah Smith really made this kid look good. Emeka Egbuka. There's a reason at Kansas State they were kind of pushing him out the door. Then all of a sudden you get him with 10 NFL players at Ohio State. He looks like a really good player. But he's got good size. He's tough. He has played a lot of football in 2 major conferences in the Big 12 and the Big 10. He obviously won a national championship this year. He was a big part of them rallying after that Michigan loss to bounce back and obviously win 4 playoff games in a row. He gets skittish under pressure. When he's under pressure, his feet kind of speed up, and you saw that a lot in the Michigan game, where it's like the decision making all of a sudden, where it's been when he's kept clean, it's like, well, yeah, he has NFL receivers to throw to. When he's under siege, those poor decisions, kind of creep into his game. So to me, he projects as a long-term backup, which again on day 3 of the draft, which is where I would draft him, is pretty valuable. Dillon Gabriel, I've got him at number 9. I like him as just a pure player, better than a few of these other guys, but he's 5'10". And he's a little bit older too, 6-year college player. He throws with good anticipation, 64 college starts, which is similar to his predecessor at Oregon and Bo Nix, but Bo Nix is 6'2" with a big arm. Dillon Gabriel's 5'10" with an average arm. Moves around a little bit. He kind of is just like a poor man's Tua, if we're being completely honest. Like, to me, if you could get him with the Dolphins in that system with McDaniel, he could be a 10-year backup. He really, really could. I just don't know if he can ever be a starter with his height, because he's Kyler Murray's size, but he's nowhere near the athlete Kyler is. Kyler is a good NFL starter because he is one of the greatest athletes at the quarterback position we've ever seen. Dillon Gabriel's a fine athlete, but he's not going to be able to throw over the middle of the field hardly at all. He'll be able to escape some, but not a ton. I think it's going to be a challenge. I think he's got a chance to be a good backup in the right situation. I think Miami in like the 5th round would be interesting, but the traits, if he was 6'1", I would like him a lot more, but he's not. He's 5'10". Okay, Riley Leonard, last up here. I thought about Max Brosmer out of Minnesota, who I think is a better pocket passer, but Leonard can at least move, good size, above average athlete, clear limitations as a thrower. Sometimes I see people on tour be like, yeah, he has a strong arm. Like, I've never seen it. I mean, he doesn't throw a velocity. His deep ball is underwhelming. Is he like a 6th, 7th round guy? High character guy, leader, was the heartbeat of that Notre Dame team, and there's value in all of that, but I just don't know what team makes sense. Like, does Buffalo make sense just to be like the ultimate poor man's backup to Josh Allen? To me, he's like a 3rd-string QB, but maybe you have a package for him as a short yardage runner, especially if they get rid of the tush push. Could he run some of that shotgun QB power stuff for a team? Could be a poor man's Taysom Hill. He's not as fast as Taysom Hill, so I'm not sure what his future is in the NFL. I would take a flyer on him in the 6th or 7th round because he is such a high character guy, but to me, he's never a starting quarterback in the NFL. Okay, who will be the best NFL QB from this class? Not who you think is going to go first, who ends up being the best pro when it's all said and done. I'll still say Cam Ward, not just because he is the best prospect in my opinion, but I think his traits give him the best chance to be good long-term. So that will be my answer, but let me know what you guys think. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 9,000 subs by April 1st. We're just over a week away, so hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.